Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Laugh Pig Kitchen where we're doing quarantine cuisine on a Monday afternoon. This is April 6th, 2020. We made it through March. March was pretty crazy. April is kind of starting out as crazy, but I hope y'all are doing okay. Hope everybody's doing okay in these uncertain times. This is going to be a quick one today. I'm making a little bit of dinner for us this evening and just wanted to show you another way that we are trying to use what we have, trying not to waste too much, and because this isn't the time to waste. This isn't the time to waste food. This isn't the time to waste resources. We're trying to do the best we can with what we have. So I'm going to show you guys what we're doing for dinner tonight here in the Laugh Pig Kitchen. We had a real treat last night because Aaron grilled ribeyes for us, and they were so delicious and so beautiful. We don't do meat that often around here. We're not exactly complete vegetarians, but I guess we're kind of close because we just don't eat meat that often. So when we do have something like a spectacular ribeye, it's a big deal, and it was really yummy, and they were both really big. So I had about 4 to 5 ounces probably left of these beautifully cooked medium rare ribeyes, and so I've cut them up into little bite-sized pieces. See there? And it's made a decent little pile of meat. So with 4 ounces or maybe 5 of ribeye, I can make another meal. I can make at least part of another meal out of that. I've cooked a pan of white rice. If you don't know how to cook your own white or brown rice, go back to Laugh Pig a couple of weeks ago and we did how to cook brown and white rice. I have diced up, this is about a third of a cup of onion. That was just a white onion, a part of one that was sitting in the crisper. These were about 5 cremini mushrooms that I had in the fridge that we had nothing to do with, so I've diced up those mushrooms. This is almost 2 cups of beef stock. And I've got my pan heating back here. I'm going to put a little bit of butter in our skillet to melt. Probably almost a tablespoon maybe of butter, because butter makes everything better. And since I've made my rice, I have some green beans that we had left over that we had with our ribeye last night. I'm going to heat up the rest of those. I've got enough of those to make 3 servings. And what I'm doing with my onion, my mushroom, my leftover ribeye, and my beef stock is make a nice thick beef gravy with mushrooms, onions, and our ribeye. And that is going to get poured over a nice pile of white rice. We've got the green beans on the side. Dinner is done. So in go the onions first. I've got my butter melted, so nice. The onions are going in. They start sizzling. Let me find something to give these onions a stir with. That'll do. I'm going to let those onions just start to get soft before I add the mushrooms here. And yeah, it's after 5 o'clock. It's 5:30. It is after 5 o'clock. We laugh around here because I have a very, very old, you can't see it on the shelf over there, very, very old vintage clock, desk clock that I got at an antique store somewhere. And it is stuck on 5 o'clock. It doesn't work, but it is stuck on 5 o'clock. And I leave it over there as a reminder. It is always 5 o'clock somewhere, if nothing else, on my old clock over there. So here's to 5 o'clock. Here's to happy hour. I'm actually going to be using a little bit of this really nice red wine here in just a minute. Our onions are sizzling nicely, starting to get soft. I'm putting our mushrooms in. And you're going to notice that I'm going to be making this gravy, this really nice thick gravy. And I'll be putting the ribeye in last because it's cooked. It's the perfect state of medium rare. It's nice and soft. It's still juicy, but it's cooked all the way through. I'm not going to want to cook it a lot more by letting it sit in my mix of what I'm making for the rest of my gravy, because I really don't want that steak to cook much more than it already is. So we're going to be adding it right at the end. Then it'll just warm up. It'll just get nice and warm. And like I said, we're going to have this beautiful, thick, beefy gravy with mushrooms and onions and the steak in it, and that's going to get poured over our rice. So we have effectively made 2 meals for the 3 of us out of the ribeyes that Aaron cooked yesterday. And this is how you don't waste. You know, this is how we make do with what we have, and you use everything you have that you can, and we try not to waste stuff. And lo and behold, it can be delicious too. How about that? So it doesn't take long for the mushrooms to start getting soft. Along with the onions, I'm going to turn down just a hair. All right, and this is our beef stock. Like I said, it's about 1 3/4 cups, looks like, of beef stock that I'm pouring in there. And to add some richness and some color to deepen this nice color of this beef stock, I'm going to put a little, we'll say that was probably about 1/4 cup of that lovely red wine. If I had my glasses on, I would tell you what that is. I'm not real sure. I'm thinking it tastes a little Merlotish or Cabernet Sauvignon, perhaps. All right. In that goes. And it already smells good. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper and just a little tiny bit of salt, because I know that beef stock already has some salt in it. You don't want to overdo. You can always add a little more at the end. All right, and there it goes. We're going to let that get nice and bubbly. And what I have here, this is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch in about 1/3 cup of cool water. I don't know how many of you guys use cornstarch on a regular basis to thicken stuff with. This could also be flour. This could be some flour and water that you add to your mix and stir until it gets nice and thick and bubbly. But since I had cornstarch, I thought we'll use it. It's going in here too. Simple cornstarch and water. And as this starts getting hot and nice and bubbly, the cornstarch is going to thicken everything into a nice thick gravy. And they're going to love it. Ha ha ha. So what are you making with your leftovers these days? What are you making do with? How are things going? Things out at your grocery store? We are actually fairly stocked here in Knoxville. I mean, toilet paper, I think, is the thing that is always out everywhere. And it's just so crazy and so weird. Although some people say, you know, that we humans go back to our primal instincts when we are in crisis or, you know, in our fight or flight mode. And if you think about it, the things people are hoarding, food and toilet paper. We're going back to eating and pooping, our very primal basic instincts. We are worried about eating and pooping. And so we're hoarding food and we're hoarding toilet paper. Go figure. Go figure. All right, this is coming together. You do have to cook it for a little while, and it doesn't hurt to stand and stir this, because as your cornstarch and water mixture starts to thicken your gravy, if you don't stand and stir it and kind of monitor it and pay attention to it, much like a toddler, it's going to get into trouble. And trouble for your gravy would be it's going to start thickening in the hottest place in the pan, which is going to be on the bottom. And as it thickens there, if you're not stirring it, that nice thick layer just sits there and eventually will burn. And so you'll have this burned thick layer on the bottom of your gravy and then a thin layer on top. That doesn't even sound appetizing, does it? So you want to keep monitoring your gravy. It's going to start getting thick. It's going to start getting bubbly. And it already smells fabulous. Here's what I do. Isn't this a fun way to spend happy hour? Then I've got a beautiful meal fixed for my family. out of stuff we already had here at home. How about that? I will admit, however, I think we're all getting a little tired of having to have all of our meals at home. We're really lucky around here in Knoxville that a lot of our local restaurants are doing, curbside pickup or delivery. So people still get to have their restaurant fix, which is nice because we got some really great restaurants in this area. And they're allowing the restaurants to even deliver alcohol. You can get margaritas along with your Mexican food delivered to your house. How cool is that? So being able to look at, the bright side of some of what's going on with all of this craziness. All right. I need to have a camera where y'all can actually see this, but it's starting to get bubbly. It's starting to get thick. You'll notice that the gravy will start kind of coating the back of your spoon. It's nice and thick. It's getting bubbly. Now's when I'm going to add my leftover steak. Just to heat it up enough to get it nice and warm and incorporated with the rest of my mushrooms and my onions in here. And this is going to, and from the looks of the amount of this, I may get 4 meals out of this, at least for one of us tomorrow. It looks like there's going to be enough for at least one of us to have lunch tomorrow for this. So out of 2 good sized ribeyes, we're getting 2 and let's say half meals out of it. So those kinds of things make us homesteaders happy. All right, people, this is what we're doing for supper tonight. Just giving you a little hint and ideas. Maybe this will help you out a little bit. You could do the same thing. Instead of using beef broth, you could use chicken broth if you've got some leftover chicken, and you could do something like this. You could do something with pork. If you got pork chops left over, you could chop them up and make a gravy like this and put over either rice or even egg noodles. Might be yummy. But get creative, have fun. People are really seem to be taking this time to become creative, to learn to do new things, and what a great way to spend the time that we're having to stay at home anyway. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope things are going well for you. Things are going well here at Laugh Pig, and we're just going to keep going day by day because that's kind of what's happening right now. Everybody have a great evening. We'll catch up with you later. Peace.